non-man-made object out of the background. We've chosen a non-man-made object because there's going to be a lot of curves in it, which means we're going to click and drag like we did, I think, the first day we looked at Photoshop. So we're going to choose the pen tool down here. I'm going to magnify our image, and we're going to begin at the beginning. So I'm going to draw just inside, a pixel or two inside the image, and that way I can adjust that easily enough later on. If you're working and you put something slightly inside or slightly outside an area you want to work, you just use the arrow tools to move it as you go. So what I'm doing, I'm clicking and dragging in the direction of the next point I'm going to click. I'm clicking and dragging, and I'm pulling down towards the next point I'm going to click on. Clicking and dragging. Clicking and dragging. Now watch, I don't pull too far on my Bezier handles. I'm just pulling just long enough where I get a nice, interesting curve. If I pull too far, or if I pull them backwards, all sorts of funny things happen. Now remember, you can always undo what you're doing. Control Z or Control Alt Z will bring you back step by gentle step. This takes a bit of time to get right. And just to show you, if you make a little error like this, I can hold down the Control key and I can pick up the Bezier handles, which are these guys here, or the anchor points, which are these guys here. So the anchor point holds the curve. The Bezier handle says whether that curve is acute or not, okay? So if I want to pick back up where I was, I click back with my pen tool on the anchor point, okay? And then I can continue drawing. Sometimes if you zoom in too close, it ruins the natural flow of the object and you end up having to do way too many clicks. So I'm clicking and dragging. Which direction? I'm dragging in the direction that I will be clicking in next. So this is going to be moving towards the top of the pear. So watch, I drag it very, very gently and I move it towards the pear. Click and drag. Now at this point here, if you look at it, it doesn't have a curve. So we just click, we don't drag. Single click. Okay? And then we're going to come back up here. Click and drag as we go. Click and drag as we go. Now, when we close that, once again, we get the closing path icon, the little circle. Now, if we decide we've made some mistakes, and we have here, we can just come back in. I'm holding the Control key down as I move. And I'm very, very gently easing those anchor points back to where they should be and pulling the Bezier curves out. Okay? When we have something that we're reasonably comfortable with, oh, a little error there, we can just hit Control, Return on the keyboard. Okay? Control, Return on the keyboard. And we have a selection. Okay? We can just copy and paste that selection onto a new layer. Edit, copy, edit, paste. Excuse me, my mouse is doing all sorts of funny things here. Okay, now, oops, and it's still doing funny things. Okay, sorry about that. So now we have our object on a new layer. Now you'll notice we have a little bit of an edge on the side of this pear that we don't need. For you people with older Photoshop, I'm going to deal with that first. If you Control click on the layer itself, you definitely will see your selection come up again, just in case it's disappeared. And we're going to go Select, Inverse. That's going to choose everything but the pear as a selection. Then we're going to go Select, Modify, Feather. It may be slightly different in that menu, but mine's under Select, Modify, Feather. For example, I'm going to choose a 3-pixel selection here. Okay. Now, I am now going to hide those guides. I don't like seeing those guides when I'm trying to work with an image. So we've feathered the selection by 3 pixels, and now all we're going to do is we're going to hide by going Control H. The selection is still there. Just hit Control H again and it turns back on. But this way, when we hit the backspace key, we'll actually see what's going to go on at the side of the image and it won't be covered by the selection. So have a look at it here. Backspace key. Do you see the way it just feathered the edge of that image? Probably over feathered it. You can hit the backspace key a couple of times and it does it a little bit more each time. Now that means we've probably overdone it here, but you'll see it. We've got a nice smooth, soft edge on that pear, as opposed to the hard edge we had just a moment ago. There's the hard edge, there's the soft edge. I'm just hitting edit undo there. Okay. Now, if you are using a newer version of Photoshop, it's a lot easier to refine the edge on an object. So just to show you that right now. Okay, so here's our hard edge. Our object is selected. We can go Select, Refine Edge. Okay, now by default it'll throw I think a black here like mine does here. You can change that to whichever way you want to view. You can just click on it here and say I just want to leave the marching ants on, or I want to have it just on a layer, or I want it on white or on black, whichever way you want to work. Okay, but what's really important about refining the edge of an object is that, excuse me, do it again, select refine edge. What's really important is that you're aware of what way it's going to output. Okay, so you can shift the edge, you can smooth the edge, you can do all these wonderful things there, but the important thing is, are you outputting it to a selection? Are you outputting it to a new layer? The first time you do this, if I was you, I'd output it to a new layer. Okay, I've just outputted the background there like a complete idiot, so excuse me. Let me just do that one more time. I have my selection here. Make sure I have the selection picked up. Yes, I do. I'm going to go select, refine edge, okay, and I'm going to shift the edge in slightly. I'm going to feather it ever so slightly, and I'm going to smooth it a little bit. Probably overdone it there, but you get the idea. And I'm going to output it to a new layer and hit OK. Fantastic. Okay, and I get my output onto a new layer. Job done.